Hello everybody, this will be a tutorial on how to pull Fibonacci retracements from anywhere. My goal for the end of this video is to make sure you become a master at pulling the fib per se. If you guys learned something new, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. First, we're going to start off with the larger time frames, and then we're going to work our way down to the lower time frames and do more of a local technical analysis using the Fibonacci retracement tool. The Fib retracement tool is probably one of my favorite tools to use, and Bitcoin well respects Fibonacci retracements very well. So this is a very important video. First and foremost, with a fib pull, Fibonacci pull, I'm going to be calling it a fib. We want to look for a pivot point in price. So usually we swing from a highest point on the chart to the lowest point on the chart, and then we get our fib values based on that. And so just starting off on the daily time frame, we'll swing from the highest point we see on our chart, and we'll swing it back down to the lowest point on the chart, and here we'll get our fib numbers showing up as shown. I personally use the 0.618 and the 0.615 to create a pocket. And then I noticed that the 0.5 and the 0.786 and the 382 are very good fib levels to use, especially on a larger time frame. But if you're using lower time frames, which we'll mention later on in the video, we'll get into that. I've noticed that the 0.618, the 615, and the 786 and the 0.5 work much better. So we'll just keep on using these to keep everything short and simple. From that, I like to then go to the next highest point in a range, and so I will pick this point and swing it to the lowest point again. Now, the main reason why I chose this specific point when drawing this fib is that if we look at the next array of points, we want to look for when price tends to drop down and then form a new range. And so what I've noticed is that this tends to be the last highest point before we drop down and change into a new range. So that is just something to keep in mind. Another thing to make this more helpful and useful when pulling the fib is that you can go to the candlestick icon up here, drop down to the bar style and choose line. And here you can see a clear pivot point in price. So you can see there was one right here. There was one about right here. And then there's going to be one right here. And then this is the low pivot point. This is a local high pivot point, another local high pivot point, local low pivot point, local high pivot point, and then I guess another local low pivot point. So that can be very useful to pull Fibonacci's from, and it can be kind of a cheat sheet, especially when you're learning and trying to perfect how to or where to pull the Fibonacci retracements from. So just more you know. But next, we'll just be looking for supports. Before we did fib resistances, next we'll look for fib supports. Just another FYI, I do like to use the strong magnet or the magnet tool in general. This helps assist in drawing a nearby top. It just kind of helps pull it to that exact dollar. So you guys can get pretty good accuracy of fib pulls, really. So just a tip for helping you guys out. And so from this, we're going to drag things from the lowest point to the next highest point when I drag the fib to the right. You always want to be dragging the fib to the right when you pull it. So like, for example, up here, we were dragging it to the right of the screen. So down here, again, we're going to choose the lowest point to the highest point this time, kind of the opposite. So we did that one right there. I suppose another one we could do is another local point or another pivot point again. If we go back to our line tool, from the swing low to the swing high right there, nothing really too significant. Again, we can do some local resistances of fib poles. And so here's a local swing high, and we can drag that down to the local swing low. Again, we're going from starting from the left or the near highest point, dragging to the lowest point for resistances, and we're dragging it to the right again. So this is a resistance. If you guys want to get super technical, let me delete these so to avoid any clutter. But you guys can draw the pivot point before a big move. Again, going back to that line tool, you can see right here that it was a pivot point before a big move, a big change in the trend. So we're going to just pull a fib from that low right there to the high, again, to the highest point you want it to drag it to. So again, this will act as a support. Now, another thing to keep in mind when pulling fibs is that you want to stay persistent and pull it from wick to wick. And you don't want to be pulling it from wick to like the body of the candle, because that might mess up the support values or resistance values of the Fibonacci retracement. So just keep it consistent or persistent, body to body to candle or wick to wick to candle. I personally do a wick to wick to candle, and that works very well for me. Next, we're going to go to a local analysis and just kind of start pulling fibs from that. Really, you can go down to like the 1 minute, really, to the 4 hour. Just depends on what you're looking for day trades mainly. You can go to the 1 hour and pull fibs from the swing highs and swing lows based on that. For more of a longer term trade or more of a kind of a swing trade in a way, you can pull fibs from the 4 hour to daily. And then for more scalp trades, you can go to the 12 minute and start pulling fibs from there. That's just how I best can best explain it. That's what I've done in the past, and it seems to work for me. But really, any time frame works for a fib. Remember, the larger the time frame you pull the fib from, the more accurate the level of the fib will be, and the more well expected it will be. So just keep that in mind. Next, we're going to look for local resistances based on the 1 hour time frame. So these are going to be day trades we could look for. So we're going to draw it from the swing high to the swing low. Again, we're pulling the fib to the right, and we're looking for a change in price or a pivot point. Again, just go back to the line tool, and you can see this was a major pivot point in price as we dropped down. And then you guys could have probably drawn a fib right here if you wanted to, or in another one right here if you wanted to. So we can do that if you want to too. So just adding confluence. The more fibs, the better. And again, what you want to look for too when actually using these levels is you want to look for confluence where they're all kind of lining up. So here you can see that we're getting a bunch of levels all kind of grouped together. And so this would be a significant level to look for a trade based off of that. Same as right here and possibly right here. But really, this is a good to go, well-respected level possibly to trade off of, since we're getting so much levels kind of lining up. So just a general rule of thumb to be looking for. And so, yeah, we pulled all the fibs as resistances based off of that. Again, you can use the line for a cheat sheet. And here we'll draw maybe a support if we can. Might not get too much of a respected thing, but so you can see here, it's already been kind of tapped. So when I mean that by that is that it's already been used, I guess. I usually use a fib until one touch gets to it. So I mean, meaning with that is price coming down and then actually well respecting touching it, bouncing off of it. And as you can see, this wick kind of took out the golden pocket, and this wick down here kind of took out the 786. So I wouldn't really use that as a significant level. But now we'll go down and start looking for scalp trades. This is what I like to use, the 12 minute a lot. as I do a lot of Bitcoin scalps. So we're going to again start from the highest point and drag it down to the lowest point. Going to go again, and we're going to hit this point, as this is a pivot before a large move down. Here we can do possibly this point too. Just drag it down to the low. Again, I'm pulling the fib and dragging it to the right and then hitting the lowest point. You guys do the opposite when you're looking for a support. So again, we can do another support down here. So we're going to drag it from the lowest point towards the local highest point. And here you can do a little fib and just kind of drag it from the lowest point to the highest point right here. You guys could have probably done the same thing for right here. And I'll do it again. So again, you can see this has already been kind of tapped, so I wouldn't really use these numbers, but just seeing like the lines again behind them, use that as a cheat sheet and just kind of switch back between the candles and the lines. Personally, that's how I learned, and again, practice makes perfect with any technique really. And so to kind of wrap it all up, you guys can do very, very large fib pulls. And so we're going to do an example of from the March 2020 move all the way up to the highest point up here. I'm going to try to. And here, again, the larger the fib pull that you pull it from. In this case, I'm pulling it from support to the right, and I'm dragging it way up to the all-time high of Bitcoin. And here you guys can use more values and as a support in this case for the fib. So you can really just turn all these on if you wanted to. I've noticed these other ones, the 0.236, 0.382, 0.5, and the other ones we're kind of using, along with the, I want to say the 0.88 fib level, that works as a fib level as well. Another quick tip too is if you guys want to save the levels, you can click on the fib retracement and this thing will come up. Just double click on any support value really. And then you guys can save as a template, and this will save all the values for you along with all the colors, and really just save everything else for you. And as you can see, I have the golden pocket, and this has specific levels saved for me, and these are what I kind of use in my own analysis. So just something to help you out. And so that is pretty much it in this video. Make sure again to like and subscribe. Make sure to share the video if you want to help someone out. Anyways, thanks for watching, and make sure to practice. Thanks. Bye.